Hey folks, welcome to Azure Happy Hour. I'm Vivek Sridhar, Senior Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. Today we are going to learn two things. One, design a custom GitHub action. Another is how to publish the GitHub action we have created to GitHub Marketplace. I have Rashmita with me. I'm going to bring Rashmita in for talking about our code of conduct. Hey Rashmita, you there?
Hi, Vivek. Good evening. And good evening, folks. I would request you all to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. But for now, I will hand over to Vivek to begin the session. Have fun, folks. Enjoy the session.
Thanks, Rashmita. I'm just gonna bring up my slides. I'm in office, so I have a big screen. Okay, cool. So we are good. Today is all about custom GitHub actions, and before I deep dive, let me introduce myself. I'm Vivek, by the way, and this is my background. I've done a bunch of things. Been a software developer, been in DevOps, been part of the founding member of a startup, and been a developer advocate at DigitalOcean. Worked in strategy and investment roles at Microsoft, and today I'm senior cloud advocate. To connect with me, either after the show or anytime on any of the Microsoft technologies, just reach out to me on these digital coordinates and we can have a chat. Today's agenda, interestingly, we did a series in Azure Happy Hour a few, not few months, but it's basically a year ago, and the same time, talking about GitHub Actions on Azure. So with Azure, in fact. So basically, we did serverless, we did Azure Community Service with Terraforms and various other things. I'll share that details as well, so that if you are interested in learning that, we can go back and take a look at it. But today, I'll briefly touch upon what is GitHub Actions are, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples which I have built, and we can go through it. But it's not going to be a demo; it's already been done, so it's available for you to consume later. Uh, After that, we will see how custom GitHub Actions work, and we're going to build one Docker container action, and then we're going to publish that particular action in the marketplace, and then we'll deep dive into JavaScripting action, something which is important, and we'll see why, when to choose the Docker container action, when to choose JavaScripting action, and obviously there is one more kind of type of action which we can build, but I'm going to talk about it, and then a couple of resources I'm going to share. Before I deep dive into custom GitHub Actions, let's go through what is GitHub Actions. So it's very simple. So we used to do CI/CD before. We had code. We used to push it to any repository, and from that repository, we used to take it and deploy the code to our productions. And so GitHub, we were using Git, we were using different tools, but now it's all about GitHub, right? Everybody's using GitHub, and the it's a default code repository for any of the projects. And so GitHub Actions was built to automate your developer workflows. One of the developer workflow was obviously CI/CD, but there are different workflows. This is a platform which was built to automate the workflows of developers. So when I say workflows of developers, is basically if any kind of event is happening on your GitHub repo, it's kind of a developer workflow, because if there is an issue is being created, or if there is a label you are adding a label to one of the issue, or if there is a pull request or there is a push, there is an event which is happening on your GitHub repository. And when that is happening, you want to run certain automations, you want to run some repeatable jobs or some kind of automations. Either it could be to push the code to production, or it could be to just automate something or run some activities. So this is where GitHub Action platform comes into picture, where you have a platform and people will go back there and automate their workflows and store their workflows in their repositories, and use different actions as well. And we're going to talk about that later. So in a nutshell, what happens is everything is an event. Any event which happens on your GitHub repository, anything changes, it's an event. And once that event is done, you want to run something. When you want to run something, you need an infrastructure, and that's where runner comes in. So when you have an event, some, say for example, there is a push. You're pushing a code, it's an event. When you push a code, you want to run certain script, certain steps, which is part of the job, which is called as a job. You want to run certain steps to complete something. And the runner here in this particular slide is nothing but an infrastructure. Either it could be a Ubuntu, or it could be a it could be a simple Mac OS or Windows. So you can use any of these three different operating systems, and you're going to run these runners, right? It's the jobs are running on these runners. And basically, step one, if you see, there is scripts. There are scripts and there are actions. So action is nothing but it's a extension. It's basically your if you have a repeatable task. So if you want to make sure that you want to reuse a couple of code, right? We have been doing that. It's just that if you are using GitHub Actions, how to do that repeatable actions, right? To repeatable code usage. So there are certain common things which we do as a developer. We check out the code, we use the code, and do a couple of actions on that. So checking out the code is, it's basically itself is one of the common action every developer does. So that is a repeatable task. So for that, there is a extension which has been developed, which is a template which is there as a part of an action. You can create an action and use that action in these steps, and you complete the job. And if you see that there is runner one and runner two, it can be a serial, it can be a basically a parallelly running runner jobs in different runners. And also the other job can wait for the one of the job to be completed and take the input from that particular job to the next, right? So all of these things are possible, and we have discussed that, and I'm going to share those details as well. And this is an example of how this works. Basically, there is a code which is a workflow. You write this workflow and store it in your repository, and whenever there is an event is happening, which is on push of this change is happening in the code, what it does is it takes this workflow and execute in Ubuntu, which is Ubuntu is nothing but your operating system there. And you can see the step one, step two, step three, step four. There are a couple of steps, and step one is using some kind of action slash checkout at version 2, which is nothing but a reusable extension, reusable template, reusable code, where there is a checkout step is running on the other side. So you just use that as one of the action, and then the other action is to set up your node, and that is also has been templatized, also been it is also a repetitive task for most of the developers in the world. So that is also been set up as a to make life easy for developers. So you just have to call the right set of versions and right set of actions, and then there is a certain script or commands which is being executed. So that's in the step 3 and step 4. So that's what how it looks. And by the way, when you're learning this, where to learn this and how to learn this, I've given sources at the bottom. You can take a look at it. But when before I go there, I'm going to show you how I learn stuff, right? When getting started with GitHub Action, right? When you just go to the documentation and you go through this documentation, it's a very wonderfully written documentation. It explains each and everything, and what is a workflow, what is an event, and how you can use it parallel and other and sequential, and events and jobs and actions and runners and everything is there, and there are a bunch of examples as well, so you can take a look at it and prepare yourself. So um, this is about just the introduction to GitHub Actions. But what we are building today is completely different, which is custom GitHub Actions. So when I say custom GitHub Action, I'll show you an example how I have used with one of my code. Right, I have uh, before even I go there, let me show you. If you go to my repo, if you refresh this, go to Wikibyte here, there is a complete action series here. So we have done it before, so it's with the source code and with the recording, with the references, so you can take a look at it. So if I go to the GitHub repo here and go into the workflow which we have developed, this is an app. So the plan was to develop an app, uh, deploy that app to Azure Community Service, and that's what we have done. And this is the step to do it. But if you notice two things here, one, there is a common action checkout, which I explained it in through the slide. But there is a custom GitHub action which I'm using here, which is Azure AKS context. So this is a custom one. So it has been designed by Azure team to for you make life simple for the developers who are using Azure Kubernetes service in building your GitHub action, right? So this is a simple way to build it. And if you take this, copy this link and go to github.com/azure/aks context. So you will see a repository, and in that repository there is action.yaml file. So when I say action.yaml file, if you go into the action.yaml file, you will see bunch of it's kind of a YAML file. It's basically describing what how to use this particular action. And if you notice, there is a name. These are all I will talk about it later, but these are nothing but metadata, right? There is a name, there is a description, and there is input. And what is the input? Resource group. It is required, it is not required, or required. This is a required parameter when you're using this action in your workflow. If you're using this particular action, the resource group name is required, cluster name is required, and then there is subscription would have been a set context through the through the security, so it is not required, it's false. So there are a couple of settings which needs to be done. And then there is something called as branding, which is like a color. When it gets executed, what should be the color and other things from the we can see that as well from how it looks, and things like that. And by the way, runs basically using node 16 and main libraries here, which you want to execute, which is the JavaScript. This is built on JavaScript. So I will talk about three different ways to build it, but this is how we are using custom GitHub actions in our uh, repository. This is not the repository. This is a repository to design the GitHub action. The way I'm consuming it, it is here. Both of them are public repositories, but this is how you can consume it. And this is again different ways to different actions which are available from Azure to for reuse perspective. So there are a couple of things. Okay, so we have this as part of the how you can consume it. So while if you go to the meetup.com today and go to the event which is happening now, which is nothing but creating a GitHub Actions, right? So there I have shared a link, which is Azure Happy Hour. And if you go here, it's a learning material, which I'll share later as well. But here is where you can learn about different things which are required. Oh, sorry, I'm in here. Let me go here. So these are things which we are going to learn about, like what is basically how you can build custom GitHub actions and what are the things it is required. So from a syntax to metadata and everything. So it's clearly defined here. Like there are three types of GitHub actions. One is Docker, and I did briefly talk about it in the agenda as well, where there is a specific way to build from a Docker perspective. There is a JavaScripting, and then there is composite. There are three different types of actions you can build, and it all three has their own advantages. From a Docker perspective, we all know Docker is basically a it's basically a packaging system, right? So your packaging environment variables with Docker, you have certain environment variables and dependencies to be executed when you are building your actions. You're going to use it with Docker, and you don't want that kind of dependencies, anything to be clubbed, and you just want to run a particular script or call APIs and run some APIs and capture data. That's where you're going to use JavaScript, and Composite is nothing but using a shell script. So basically, why it is required is because if you don't want to script through JavaScripting and you want to run a couple of shell scripts, that's where you use Composite. And there is an advantage, right? There is obviously the advantage with Docker is you can build with dependencies, but there is a disadvantage there because it when it starts, it builds the container. It takes time, and there is, from a performance perspective, there is it's going to take some time to build. But from a JavaScript perspective, it's easy, it's faster, and it's easy to build, and a very minimal effort as well. And um, Composite is very important because it's a shell scripting. If you don't want to do it with either of this packaging or wrapping your code with Docker, or you don't want to write JavaScripting, and you have a couple of things to do with respect to with respect to shell script, then you're going to run it through Composite. So that's what has been explained here, how we are going to do it. Anyways, we're going to build both, and we're going to see how it runs, and that is what is explained here. And coming to the metadata and syntax of building it, I did show you this, right? While building, uh, we saw this, right? This is a simple syntax. We're going to define the name, we're going to describe it. There is an input, which is nothing but a parameters which you're going to pass, and then there is output, which is very interesting. The reason the output is there is because you're going to probably you're going to use that output in other scripts. Maybe you want to use while running another action, you want a parameter to be set. That's where you're going to use this output as well. Or you're running a shell script, or you're running a command with the output of a particular action which you're going to build. So that is where you're going to use outputs, and there is an input, and probably you can also use it in different workflows. So there are different ways to use it. And then run command is basically either you want to run it as a Docker, either you want to run it as a JavaScript, or you want to run it as a Composite. You have to specify. And then there is branding, the feature icon, color icon, to make it more personalized, and you can use it in GitHub Marketplace. That anyways we're going to see as well. So input is, as I told you, it clearly defines what is required, what is default, and what is the description, and we are going to anyways build it. So output is, again, it has calculated something, and it is sending it across, and probably you can reuse that output somewhere else. And then you are running something which is nothing but the Docker or the JavaScript or the Composite. So anyways, this is something which we are going to see as well while we are building it. So workflow is very simple. This is the same way we are going to define the workflow is already here. So we're going to use it in workflow and execute it, right? So designing workflow is pretty straightforward. So we're going to see that. So here the steps have been given in this particular learn module. Everything has been given, and there is public and private repositories as well. If it is private, you're going to use it within your repository. You can build these custom GitHub actions and use it within your repository. But if it is public, anybody can access the Azure one, which I showed you. It is public. We are going to build public as well, and most of the things in the marketplace, whenever I publish something in marketplace, it has to be public. Most important thing about publishing the the GitHub actions in marketplace is about documenting how to use it. So we're going to see that as well, and release and other things. Done with the talking. Let's figure out how to do, and this is how I learn stuff. um, Go back to the amazing documentation which is there, and it's already been, we did talk about all of these things, how it is set up, executed, and how we can execute it and use it in different things. So let's build a simple uh, container, right? So let us go here to my GitHub repo. Let me go and bring this up here so that it's easy for me to run this. Okay, cool. I'm in the GitHub repo now. So let us go and create a new repository. Okay, so let me call this as what? Hello world reactor demo. Okay, and we'll call it public. We'll add readme. Done. Everything is done. I'm creating a repository. Okay. Now what we will do is we'll copy this repository and go to my terminal, create demos. Sorry, there is no folder called demos. Let's create make directory demos, and then we go to demos, and then we're going to git clone it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to git clone this, and we're going to open this in Visual Studio. That will open and the other screen as expected. Okay, let me bring this screen here into the here. Okay, cool. This is readme. Okay, we have it, hello world, and we have the code. Okay, now what we have to do is we go there and build a Docker file. So how to build a Docker file? Simple, right? So we'll go and where's my, okay. Let me go to terminal, and we're going to do touch Docker file. Oh, so now Docker file will be created here, and I'm going to copy the code. So all I'm doing is simply executing a shell, and I'm executing some script, and I'm just copying it into Docker so that I have the environment set. So that's it. So that's all I'm doing here, and I hope you are able to see the code. I have the Docker file running now, and let me come back here, and what we'll do, we will go and create an action.yml YAML file, right? So how do we do that? So we'll come back here and say touch action dot YML. Go back to the code base and copy. So we'll change the name. So this is the default one which is there, right? So we're going to change this name now. So what we'll do is hello reactor demo. Okay. So this is basically to greet hi, but if you see this, there is name, there is description, there is input. The input is whom to greet, and description is whom to greet, and required true default is the world. If you don't give anything, it will take hello world, or else it will take the one which we are giving, and we are going to run it as Docker and Docker file, and there is some arguments to it. We are passing the what is the input, whom to greet, which is this one, the input for that, and whatever is there as an input, it will take it here and pass it to the script. Okay, so that's what the action file is doing. And let's so how do we so this is done, so this is basically done, but what we will do is we're going to go and let us add some coloring, some branding. What do you say? So we'll add this branding shield and some color blue and stuff. Let's see. Before run. Okay, this is coming for run. So it is part of the output. Yeah, it's part of the okay. It's yeah, part of the output. Mm, done. So this is done. So we have also done some branding here, and this is setup is done. So these are the two things which we needed, but this is not the one we need. We need the code, right? So that is basically entry point dot sh, right? That is the missing thing. So we'll go back and come here and say touch entry point dot sh is one, and we have entry point sh here. And whereas what we have to do is basically copy the code. So all we are doing is hello. That's it. So you can complicate this with much more than just hello. You know how much you can do it with scripts, right? So this is one simple way to build this up. Now we have built this. All we need to do is make sure that it is executing. So what we have to do is make sure this should be an executable, right? So making sure this is an executable. Done. Now we have executable stuff, and simple. So next is, obviously we need to build the readme. So readme is here. As I told you, when we are building something, we have to make sure our readme is, oops, I built it here. I have to move everything here. Move and move. Okay, now I have everything here in this folder, right? Yeah, cool. So let me go to the readme and copy this, paste it. I'm going to save it. Now I have the readme also set, and everything is ready, and all we need to do is to complete the code. Right. So let me go to hello. It's here. Everything is here. So git add. I'm going to add everything directly. Git commit message ready to go. Okay. Now we're going to tag git tag hyphen a hyphen m tagging the release to version 1. So this is also, again, it's a kind of, you need to make sure how you're going to tag it. So we are, it could be different ways. There is different ways to tag it. We're going to see that as well, but it's there in the documentation. It's there in our learn module, best practices. And so there is a git tagging. I'm going to tag this, and once I have tagged this, what I should do is push follow tags. So that's the right command. Yep. So now I pushed the version 1, and it should be there on my repo. So we created this repo, right? So if I go and see this repo, there's bunch of things which is there, and this is what we have done. Now we are ready. So we have the action file, something which is there, and there is docker file, there is entry point script, everything is ready, and we are ready to go. Obviously this is not the right one, we're going to change this, but we're going to see how to draft and publish. So here is it interesting. The moment I created an action.yaml file, my repo started showing it as publish action to marketplace. So that is the advantage here, right? So it already identifies this particular can go into the marketplace as part of an action. It is make your action discoverable, right? So now go and draft it, and it says everything looks good, right? I have everything. There is a unique name to it, and there is some description to it. There is shield, there is color, and everything is fine. I'm publishing it. It's perfect. So once you create this kind of a repo, you can just click on the publish, and it goes to publish. A readme exists. Perfect. Everything is there. Now I'll select what is this for. I'll say learning purpose. I'll say this is for testing testing purpose. I'm going to choose version 1 and say okay, release file, right? So done. So some stuff, this is a release. So let's go and release. So what is this? Okay, there's some issue. It requires some code. I'm yet to get the code. Okay. Now I'm authenticated. So it's released. It's in the release 1. Now I go back to this particular repo again. So what I see is, this is published, and how to use this action in your in your workflow, right? If you go and view this, basically, if you view this, here is how it is there. This is the one branding which I mentioned, right? There is a branding which we did, the shield and the blue and the other things which we added, right? So if you click on this use latest, and this is how we are going to use it, right? So this is how we should be using this. So what we need to do is we need to copy this and go back to our code and change this code and say, hey, in the readme, this is how you're going to use it. Okay, now we are done, and we have set the readme also up. And now again, if we have made changes to the code, so what we need to do, git add and git commit, ready to build workflow, right? And then we will tag -a -m ready release version 2. call it version 2, um, and just release it and say git push follow hyphen tags, right? So now version 2 has been released, and um, you can see, you can come here and does it get updated? No, right? It doesn't get updated. So what we have to do, we have to go here, release marketplace. Where is it? Edit testing. Choose version 1 is there. Where is version 2? Let me go to actions. Okay, this is okay, not this one. We go back to the code and then publish it again. Let me go to the code. Okay, so we need to change why there is release only one. Oh, we haven't drafted a new release, sorry. So we're going to draft new release and publish this again because we made changes to the readme. So this is the same. There's version 2, release version 2, and then publish. So when I do this, version 2 gets published, and when I go back here and view it on the marketplace, probably you'll see version 2 here, right? And also you'll see how to use it has been changed. Perfect. So this is how you manage the change of code and of this particular GitHub action which we have built. Now the time is to consume this GitHub action, right? So how do we consume this GitHub action? So all we need to do is build a GitHub workflow in different repo, not in the same repo, because this is a public repo, right? We built a public repo, and let's go and see where we can use it. Cool. So let me go to my profile and we will pick action demos. I have a couple of actions been built there. So we'll go and say, okay, let's go and build a new action, new workflow, which is using this new action. So new workflow, we'll pick a simple one where there is nothing, and we'll make changes to this code, and we're going to add our code. Now we are going to make changes to this. This is already available. This has already been designed by somebody and it has been used, but we want to use our code, right? So when we go here, this is the version 2, right? So we're going to use this and copy this into my new file, which is here. Instead of this, we're going to give this, right? So I'm going to make some indent issues being taken care, and then we will say welcome to reactor Azure happy hour, right? So we have it ready. So we will just preview. So this is on push, so any code gets pushed here. There is its runner, obviously Ubuntu, and it is going to call my script, and this is on my since it is on my repository, and this is the name of the repo which we have built the action. This is going to be called, and this is the release we are going to use, which is version 2, and this is how script which will run, which will whom to greet. This is the input to the script used with this. So this is an input, and once this is done, what will happen is it will go and execute the code, which is, obviously the Docker will run. The Docker runs on the entry point, and entry point will take the name and whatever I've given there. It will take this up here. And by the way, it all runs through action.yml. So this is the one which gets called, and it if you have not given anything, by default it will take word, otherwise we have already given. So it will take the right set of input, and then it just runs the Docker, right? So that's how the whole flow is. So it's basically connecting to the action repository, and verifies this action.yml, and make sure that the both of them have the parameters, required parameters is all set. And then there is simple running of the Docker command, and then it's next all its course, right? There is Docker execution, and then there is a script which is getting executed with that, right? So let us go and see whether this runs. Hopefully this will run. Execute. Execute hello world. Let me commit. Okay, there is blank already, file name exists, so we need to change. So let me go back, and why this change? Okay, let's say new file. Oh, okay, this is for making new. Okay, just check on this. Okay, let me do this. Let's copy this first, and let's cancel changes. Let's go back to this. Cancel actions. Cancel new workflow. Okay, and configure. Okay, let's change this first. So we will give what? Reactor demo.yml, and then we'll copy this, paste this. All perfect. There's no issues. Okay, the preview is fine. Cool. So we have it ready. Now we'll commit. Let's test it. So let's go and see if it works. Perfect. So it's ready. So it's already running it. So once it executing, queued up, let's see. So it's already executed. So if you see, it's the build and it runs the script. So it is execute. The output is here. So if you see the output, it's here. So hello, welcome to Reactor Azure Happy Hour. So cool. So this is combined. By the way, I wrote only welcome to Reactor, right? So this is the one. So anyways, so this is how you can run the Docker one. And similarly, we can build something from scratch for JavaScripting. And it's very simple. I'll quickly run through it, and we will build one, and we will see how JavaScripting works in this scenario, right? So let's go and create one more repo for JavaScripting. So for each task, like one specific task, you need to build one specific thing, right? So don't have to create you should not combine a lot of things in the action. So it has to solve one specific problem. So there is hello world, JavaScript, Reactor. I've created a Reactor demo, and again it is public, it is for readme, and everything is there. I'll create a repository. So now the drill is the same. We have the repository, we copy the code, and we go to these my repository and say git cloning the code. And this time I don't want to make mistakes. So hello world reactor JavaScript, sorry. Hello world JavaScript reactor. And I have readme. Everything is set. Now I'll open this in my okay. Now I have the code ready. Repo is ready with me, and all I need to do is to, because this is a node JS, you need to make sure that you have a node in it set, because you want to create that package.json. Whenever you install packages, it needs to be updated there, so that you can check in the package.json, so that whenever this is running as an action, it uses that package.json for setting it up and executing, right? So this is this is very much required. So we'll go into the, we are here. So I'm just creating that package.json with npm init. So you can see this is an output of that, and package.json is here. So we are ready to go, right? So now what we need to do is similarly how we created actions, same thing, same drill. We go and create action uh, file, right? So touch action.yml, and we'll go to code. It's here. We'll copy this. It's again hello world. Same thing we are doing, but this time if it is running, going to run on node 16 and index.js. So it is not Docker. So it is not packaging anything. It's basically it's just that it's the same almost. And what we need to do is hello reactor JavaScript demo. Just naming it differently so that we can uniquely identify it. We can also, if you want to use it as a brand, you can also put the brand here, but it's okay if you don't put brand. It's still we can still get this done. So we have this whole thing ready now. All we need is a couple of things. So we need to install a couple of packages to go back and use it. You build the JavaScript. So we'll go and install um, the package, which is this one. Two packages. Basically, one is core and the other is GitHub. So these are available for Node.js to build actions. You can use it, and there is a bunch of other list of things which is also there. If you go through the learn module, which is shared on the meetup.com, it will take you to a list of packages you can install. I have installed all of them, so a couple of them to be installed on the repo is this. So you can just install it, and it will install both the things. So once it is installed, all we are going to do now is going to build the code, which is index.js. So where do I get that? So what I should be doing now is touch index.js, going back here, index.js. I'm putting the code here. So here again, the code is very simple. It's using the package. It's taking the input, again printing the input, and some time and other things and errors, and it is catching some errors and other things. So, and it's also some couple of webhook. So it is all, it's a simple JavaScripting to run the script. And now JavaScript is ready. Now we have action ready, and we have package. Everything is ready. All we have to do is to change the readme also, if you want to update readme. If readme is not there, if you remember, if you saw the release, right, the readme was mandatory. That there is a, if it is there, it is good. So that is very interesting. You need to have a good readme. if you want to publish it into the marketplace, right? So this is done, but again, this is not the right one. We are going to build something and we're going to change that, but I'm not changing that this time. Let it be there, just in case, not just in, because I just want to make sure we are on good on time. Okay, so I'm saving this, and now we are good to go. And all we need to do is what? Um we'll go and publish code. We haven't published code. So GitHub status, we haven't done that. So a couple of things are there. GitHub add, and we will go commit message. Let's publish JavaScript actions. Okay, now we have done. If you notice, all the modules which were installed and with all the dependencies is also being checked, is pushed. So clear, and we are here. We need to tag this with the tag release version 1, version 1. And what's next? Get a push, follow, tag, tags. Right. So you push the code same way what we did last time. So what we have now is basically, if you see, there is no it is not telling, it's good to go to marketplace, it's an action or anything. Now I refresh this, it's an action because I created this file. I have these packages .in and everything is set, so it's published to market, to marketplace. So to do that, I need to draft it. So I need to draft. I'll go back here, and it says improve. The reason is I have not given the icon or the color, so it says you need to improve it, but this is all fine. So it is still a warning, it's not a red mark. And this is readme exists, it is there. Again, you can choose different options why we are building this. I'm building it for learning, so you can choose the right set of things. And release, we are releasing version 1, and release version 1. So we are done. So where we go and release. So it's done, version 1 is here. Go back to javascripting. Now what you have is a simple GitHub action with your project, and it's on the marketplace. And I click on view on marketplace, it's version 1. Use this, here it is. So all we need to do now is copy this into my action. Now, how to build that action? Again, we are going to go back and build this action, build this workflow in different repository, right? So we did build it in different repository last time. So this was the place we did. So we had a couple of them already been built. So I will go and say actions. Again, build a new workflow. New workflow. So that I can configure a workflow within that script. I'm going to copy this. First thing we need to do is to change the name. JavaScripting, JavaScript reactor.yaml. Okay, now I have this, the same thing. We are just changing this particular thing with our repository, right? So we are going to use this one, which is the one which we built. So we're going to come back here and build it. So there are a bunch of use cases which you can work with. Say for example, you have a readme, you have some code, and you have readmes, and you are changing the readmes, and you want to tell the world that you have changed the readme, or you have updated the readme. All you need to do is to run a couple of uh, actions. As soon as you change the README, run some kind of workflows where it goes and publishes it in your social. So it's either it is a Twitter post or it could be a different LinkedIn post and everything. So you can do all of these things here, right? So this is how it can be used, right? So updated release. Right, so let's go and test this out. Hopefully this will run. Here you go. Oh no, this is a different one. Let's go and check this. So yeah, I see some people are running. Okay, great. So let's go here. You can see, hello, welcome to Reactor, right? So there is, you know, same thing which we have done, and you can just run this script, right? So this is how you can access this. Let's again see this. um, Again, this one is where we said hello, and this is the output, right? Here is what the output is. Cool. So we have published two things. One is Docker, one is through JavaScript. The other one is for your exercise. Just go and try the composite, right? So you have these two things, but you just go and try the composite one as well, and it will give you a different kind of perspective. So now this is what I just wanted to show. And let me go back here. I did tell you that I'm going to share this learn module because it has all the complete details, all the steps, all the code and everything. So all you can do is just go to Azure Happy Hours, aka.ms in Azure Happy Hours, and you can pick this code. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can ask me here and I'm able to answer. I'll take these questions now. There are a bunch of questions. Okay, because it's not streaming. Let me bring up the questions. Okay, there are a bunch of things. Thank you. Okay, okay. There's no question, so I'm just waiting for some questions because there are some comments there, but I'm looking for some questions. If you have questions, do reach out to me. I'm happy to take those questions now. I still have 2 minutes to go, and I can wait for it. Well, if you are looking for, oh, by the way, I can share a couple of links in the chat where I have done the one of the profile. You can go to my Wikibytes, and in that I have GitHub Action series. So I cover most of the things here: app service to functions to communities to machine learning to database and a lot of things, template stuff. So if you're interested, I want to share this link for everyone for your learning purpose. Cool. Thank you very much. By the way, there are two links which I've shared. One is the learn module, which is there, It really explains everything amazingly. And there is one more, which is um, okay. There is a question which is coming in. This is interesting. So GitHub Action and Azure DevOps, which one is good to learn? See, both of them are solves different set of problems. So GitHub Actions is basically as you see, right, there's a lot of things happen with GitHub Actions, where if there is a change in repository, you're running something, it gives a flexibility. It is all automating the developer workflow, and also obviously it does CI/CD and production stuff and things. And from Azure DevOps is pretty heavy on enterprise, and probably there is pipelining, and there is bunch of things which has there is a control, how to release, who will release, who are the stakeholders who are going to release it, and other things. So there are a bunch of things which is there. So that is the difference between both of these things. This is enterprise heavy, and this is easy to build, and also works with only GitHub. And Azure DevOps works with other set of repositories, again, like GitLab and other things which is there. So both of them are good to learn. And as a DevOps technophile, you would love both, right? And you will enjoy working on both. That's what I would like to say. And there is another question which is coming in, which is any real-time use case of GitHub Actions. Yeah, and it's there, and in my repo, which is there, like I'm able to deploy my app directly to app service, or to you know to Azure Community Service, or to serverless. It's already there. And recently we built a simple static web app as well. GitHub Actions are built on the fly. We don't have to even design these workflow. It is already there, and you just need to push the code. So it's already there in my repo. If you go to the repo, you can play around with it. um, Again, this question we have already answered, which is what is the use of GitHub Actions. As I told you, there's a bunch of things which happen on your repository. You pull the code, you push the code, you have issues being created, there is labeling, and there is CI/CD you do as a DevOps perspective. You do code scanning, the container scanning, which is picking up, right? There is container scanning which also runs. So all of these things is useful, like through built through GitHub Actions, right? So that is one of the things. So uh, that is one of the use cases. Cool. Any other questions which is there? Happy to take a couple of them. Cool. Thank folks. See you soon. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or on or on GitHub repo as well, or on the Twitter, and I'll be able to help you all. Thank you for joining in. Uh, Thank you very much. Thank you, Rashmita, for hosting me. Thank you.